Hello, hello. How we doing? I am Chelsea Evans and I'm the furniture artist on Apple Blossom Way. And today we are going to do some transfers. So this is a cool little piece that my good friend brought to me. We did her bedroom set yesterday. We sprayed her whole entire bedroom set with Wise Owl 1 Hour Enamel in Snow Owl. So it's just a bright white. It's really beautiful. And then on her jewelry box, we are going to add some color to it. So I think it's going to be really beautiful, and I think this transfer is going to be perfect. Her bedroom is going to be kind of like Hollywood glam. So the furniture is bright white. They have kind of like a pale gray walls. They'll have some black in there, a little bit of silver and gold, and then the Violet Hill transfer. Hi Royce, how are you? And as you guys come on, say hello and tell me where you're from. I am in Salem, Utah. It's about an hour south of Salt Lake. So this is the Violet Hill transfer. It's a really beautiful floral transfer. It has some really nice deep purples, some burgundies, kind of a rosy pink, pale pinks, and then it might be a little hard for you to see the color of that as I'm showing you now, but this is like a very, very pale light blue green. So if you've ever used Wise Owl paint, they have a color called Icelandic Mist, and Icelandic Mist is almost this exact color. So this would be really beautiful on that color as well. All right, and it has some gold writing too. So I will show you. Isn't that pretty? The gold script. And it kind of just catches the light, so I think it will be really nice. You can add it with the writing, you can cut it out. That's the fun thing about transfers, is you can do kind of whatever you want, whatever fits the piece that you're working on. And so I am only going to be using a few pieces. This is a very large transfer. I believe there's 6 sheets that are this size. So it would cover a large amount of space. It would be really beautiful on a wall or on the front of a dresser. But we're just going to use parts of it. So if I'm going to kind of adjust this camera as we progress here. So as you can see, it's just solid white. I did like very lightly distress it. And then the front of it has a design on it, a raised design. So we're going to use a little bit of the Decor wax to bring out that design and add a little bit of the gold to tie in the lettering. I don't want this very uniform. I kind of want the flowers to flow down the piece. So I'm going to use the pieces that I like best that will do that. I want some florals up top, and then see this beautiful leaf that kind of comes down and flows. I really want that. I don't mind if I get a little bit of the gold lettering. But I want the flowers to be on the flat surface and then our vine to come down on our textured surface. So this will be a good thing for you guys to watch if you haven't worked, if you've only done something on a flat surface and you haven't done any transfers on kind of the textured or curved surfaces. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. Everyone does it a little bit differently, and I will show you how I do it. So I'm just going to cut out what I want here. That way I can keep the rest of my transfer with the backing intact, and I can save it for something else. So we'll just roughly cut around the edges. Leave a little of the gold. I like the gold writing on there. And some of the gold, if you can see, is a little bit distressed. It has bits of gold almost sprinkled next to the transfer, which I like that. That way, if you're not using all the words, it doesn't have to be totally crisp and clean. You can have some of that that's a little more distressed. Okay. And then save it. Always save the small pieces because you can use them on picture frames, like glass bottles, lots of things like that. So never get rid of it. Okay, and then if you can see right here, this is going to have a really harsh line because this is where it would join the next transfer. So I'm gonna clean this up a little bit so it doesn't look like it has just a straight cut line. It will be a little more organic. Oh, Suzanne, that's so nice. Thank you. How kind. All right, see that straight line? That's where it would join. So let's just cut some of this out and then we'll leave it feeling a little more natural. And less like it's missing part. Actually, we'll just cut right down to this. I think the real trick and the real beautiful thing about using transfers is you can use them so they look like you just stuck a sticker on, or you can use them and make it melted into the piece of furniture, look very natural, have beautiful transitions, and it will look more like you painted it on. And that's where the little tricks, and let's see. Ticks and trips, wow. That took me a minute, guys. That's where those type of things and practice will come in, and then your pieces will look much more natural and beautiful and not like you just stuck something on there. Okay, so I'm really liking that. I feel like that gives enough of the florals up here that you'll be able to see it, and then it kind of flows. Maybe we'll come even a little farther down. Yeah, just like that. Okay, let's do that and then see what we look like. Tips and tricks. Thank you, Bryce. Maybe I had to write it down for my brain to process that correctly. That's why we do lives, so we can mess up and then you guys can laugh. And that's how it is in real life. You know what's the worst though? When you are, like, have any of you ever been frustrated? I mean, for sure. And with your kids or your spouse or someone else, and you're just so frustrated and getting mad, and then you're trying to say something and it just won't come out right, and then you all start laughing because you just sound dumb. Yep. That is the best. Okay, so I'm only peeling back part of it, and I'm just going to kind of set it where I think I want it. Oh, that is where it's going to be. And then the flat part I will kind of put on first. And then let's get the rest of the flat part done. I always have my scissors handy, and then I'll cut off. That way I have better control of it. Now this part's stuck on there. It's not gonna come off or peel back. And so I'm gonna leave that on the flat part, and I'll come back and rub it on in just a second. And I'm just gonna take us to this curve right here. I'm gonna place my paper right here behind it, and then I'm going to apply this right here. So we can either keep going, the transition's pretty, this lid lifts up. So let's see. Yeah, we'll leave it. Okay, let's apply it. And you're just gonna take your fancy stick. If for some reason you don't have one, every transfer comes with this. If for some reason you don't have one, or if you break it, because I have gotten a little too crazy and I have broken mine, and you're in a bind, you can use any flat, hard surface to apply the transfer. So if you have like a plastic spatula that you use for fixing holes in furniture, repairing things, you can use that. If you have a credit card, you can use that. Just don't use one you like because you can ruin them. Use an old one, a membership card, anything like that will work. So just keep that in mind. So you just want to apply the transfer. Make sure that you burnish it well. So I always apply it like this, and then after I get the transfer on, I'll peel it back, and then I rub it again with my tool. And then I actually do go over it with 220 fine grit sandpaper, and I typically distress them. So I'm gonna show you that too, and I'll tell you why I do that, why I like doing that. Hey Llewellyn, how are you? Oh, this transfer is beautiful. It really is just stunning. I was so excited when she wanted to use it. Just a thought pothole. I like that. That's a good one, Royce. Okay, so now I've got that on there. I can either peel it or I can keep going. So I'm just gonna kind of keep going. And I just go kind of slow, and I push it down around the crevices, and see how this backing is still there? It's gonna keep it from sticking down farther. Some pieces are easy to do this with. Some pieces you might wanna trim off or cut part of the transfer and then place it below and then keep working down. That's okay too. It's kind of whatever you are comfortable with. There's really no right or wrong way. It's what way works best for you. So always remember that when you're applying. The most important thing to remember is just remember to burnish it really well so that you don't have any air pockets, that it's completely stuck to your piece. Okay, and we'll bring it down one more here. Okay, and then I'm gonna go ahead and take off the rest of my backing. Ooh, from Italy, ciao. I do not speak Italian, but I know what that says. Hello from Italy. Okay, I would love to go to Italy. Okay, now we've come down onto our texture here. Can you guys see that texture there? So I'm gonna use this, get it right into that crevice. I've got a small corner here. If I was gonna have more of my transfer here, I would probably take my scissors, because corners can be tricky and sometimes they'll fold and pull your transfer. So I always have my scissors right next to me, and I would take them and I would just clip it. Oh well, these scissors are obviously very dull. Anyway, I would clip it right there, and then it will allow you to get into the corner and kind of move your transfer around that corner. And then I'm just taking the corner edge of this and working it into all of those detailed parts in here. Okay. Hello from Texas. Hi, Elizabeth. Okay, so now let's slowly peel it back. I've burnished it well. I know that it's adhered. I go slow to make sure that it's adhered. If any parts start to come up, I just lay this back down and I will burnish it again, right there. We're here. Have any of you used this transfer before? Oh yeah, you can totally do it on textured pieces. If you guys can see this piece behind me, this is a stone finished dresser. This is a class that I teach on how to make furniture look like it's stone finishes. And all of my stone finished pieces are textured, and I have used transfers on them, and I have several students who have used transfers over top of texture. So you want to just make sure that you burnish it really well. You're too afraid to use them? What? Don't ever be afraid. You can't ever mess it up. And just let it be what it's gonna be. Don't have these expectations that you're gonna have like this perfectly placed transfer and there won't be any cracks or any mistakes, because that's not art. Perfection is not art. Just let it be what it's gonna be, and then you just work with it that way. And if you're nervous, try it on something small first. Just cut off a piece like I did, and then try it on something smaller. You can use your fingers too. A lot of times, if my little tool just isn't getting in there, I'll take my fingernail and really just burnish that in, so I know that it's not gonna come off. Okay. And then especially on your textured areas, like right here, I take my finger over and I run it over and make sure that I just get all of those. There's no air bubbles, that it's sunk into my texture. And then whether you're going over doors or drawers or whatnot, you can see that this opens. I'm just gonna run my finger across that. You can take the edge of scissors, even your tool. Sometimes you have enough space between your drawers that you can put that between the drawers to kind of slice your transfer, or you can use an X-Acto knife, anything like that. I like to kind of cut it before I open or move a drawer, just so that I don't accidentally pull it off in case I didn't burnish well enough. So I'll just kind of take and run it across, and that's perfect. And then the same thing with the doors right here. I'll just kind of run my scissors right on the edge. And then when I open up those doors or drawers, then I just take my tool or my finger and I just really make sure that I adhere those edges if any are peeking up over the edge of the doors. Hello from South Africa, how are you? Let's see. Yeah, sometimes you'll have things that won't line up perfectly, and that's okay. Yeah, so Mandy says sometimes she's had noticeable gaps that she's had to hand paint, and she's not a hand painter, and they still look really good. So there's always a fix. Okay, so now we've got the transfer on there. We've got our texture. I'm gonna run this over it one more time. And I did it a little too hard, but that's okay because my next step I'm gonna show you. So I just run it over again just to make sure that everything is on there how I want it. You can see I've even scratched it a little bit, but I like it that way. I don't want it on there perfect. Okay, now after I've got it on there, I'm gonna take my 220 fine grit sandpaper and I'm going to distress it. I like doing this because it burnishes a little bit more, which means that your transfer is going to be stuck to the project you're working on. I like it because if you have any cracks or any imperfections and you distress it, it makes those look more natural and intentional, instead of picking it apart and saying, oh, there's a little crack right there, right? And then I like it because sometimes, especially on a textured piece, some of your paint or texture will come through the transfer and it will make it look even more natural and kind of melt into the piece. So I just take it. It will fade the transfer just a little. Let me kind of move this so you guys can see this well. Bring it around the edges here. Okay. All right, let me just show you that first. So you see how that gives it just that faded antique look, like it's been there forever, right? So we take old furniture and we paint it and make it look like it was painted forever ago, right? So you don't have to do this. You don't have to distress it. It's totally an optional thing and it's personal preference, but I like to. And then you can kind of see the edges of your furniture. And this is especially nice when you are working with texture. And you want that texture or design to come through. So if your piece doesn't have a design and you want it to, you can totally use the Redesign with Prima stencils and the either 3D fiber paste, or you can mix salt wash with your paint. I usually mix salt wash with Wiesel paint, and then I'll use that to apply to my stencil, raised stencil. Let it dry, kind of sand it back so it's smooth, and then I'll apply my transfer right over it. So a design like this that's already in the door, you can create and do yourself if you have a piece that's really boring and you want more dimension. And then right here is where you're really gonna see that. Oh, thanks, Bianca. Hi, Anna Marie, thank you. Hey, Amy, how's it going? Hey, Adriana, from Italy, another one from Italy. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this and just distress. Okay, now, I want you guys to really be able to see this, so I'm gonna lift this up. But now you can see it has so much dimension. I mean, you've got the design, the texture, the natural texture that's already on it, and then you have your transfer still peeking through, but you can see both equally well, but they both bring different things to the piece, which is what we're going for, right? Okay, so now we've got the top done. It's kind of flowing down. Let me look at that. Sometimes I like to sit back and look at it and say, okay, what else does it need? Maybe just a tiny bit right here, so that way it kind of builds up and then tapers down to a very small bit right here. So I'm just gonna take the piece we already cut and let's see what goodies we've got on there. Okay, so we've got some of these. I'm thinking that's kind of what we want to use. These ones right here. See how they kind of flow the right way? So that's what we're gonna cut off and use. Okay. So let's see. And then see if I tuck that right up under, it's gonna look like it was part of it. Let's cut off some of that extra gold here. Okay. We'll come back up to you guys. All right, let's see. About like that. And then I'll just trim off that little top part. And you can transfer right over another transfer. So if it kind of touches the other transfer, that's totally fine. As long as it's burnished well, then they will adhere and you can kind of layer it. Cool, huh? Oh, Kim, I'm glad you like it because it's yours. Okay. So same thing, I'm just gonna start at the top. And then tuck it around. Right here. And I'm just careful not to put any pressure on that bottom part or it's gonna stick and then I'll have a big gap. If it was a large piece, I would have kept the backing on it. Let's see, what time is it? Okay, we're good. Here's another question for you. What is your favorite floral transfer that you've ever used from Redesign with Prima? I love this one. I love the Wondrous Floral Transfer. I know there are some new ones coming that are amazing. So, what is one that you've used that you've really loved? Thank you, Oka. From another one from South Africa. Very cool. Okay, and then we'll just distress it. Okay, there. Now I feel like that has a little bit more of a flow. It feels more built up and then kind of tapers down. And I really like that. It's very delicate. It's very, very beautiful. And then when we add, let's add a little bit of Decor wax onto this so I can show you. I'm not gonna go all the way down with it because I have these drawers in the bottom and I'm going to take, I haven't decided which one, but either this piece or this one. See how they both have the danglies? And we're gonna place it, let's see if you can see that. We're gonna place it down here so that it kind of flows, continues and kind of flows down onto the leg a little bit, down here. Won't that be beautiful? Then it will kind of give that, you know, direct the eye from the top and then bring you down and then back up. So we'll use one of those for there. So I might overlap a tiny bit. So I'm just gonna show you the Decor wax just right up here so that you guys can see it a little bit. So Salt Wash is not a Wiesel product, but I do carry it on my site. Salt Wash is a powder that you add to your paint and then it thickens it so you can create texture with your pieces, or you can do raised stencils, things like that with it. But all of that Wiesel paint and the Salt Wash and all of my classes that I teach you can find on my website. It's appleblossomway.com. Okay, so I've got two here. One is the Vintage Gold and the other one is Amber Lights. This one's a little bit more, it's really a bright gold. And then this one's a little bit more of an antique gold. So she's going to be painting a mirror in her room that's heavy, the Heavy Metals from Wiesel. It's the Heavy Metals metallic gilding paint, and it's Cleopatra gold, which is this bright kind of gold. So I'm thinking that this one may be a better match. So let's look at the colors on paper though, and then that's a good way to tell. So I just have my white paper here. These are cool little brushes from Redesign with Prima. They're just the Art Basics brushes, and they come in a little set. They're nice for applying the Decor waxes because they're really firm. So let's just put a little bit on here. Sometimes I like to do this because it might look a little bit different in the can versus on the color. So you can always, if you have like a colored piece of furniture, you could always put a little paint on your paper and then put a little bit of the Decor wax over top of it to see what it's gonna look like before you actually apply it. And then this one's the Vintage Gold. And another thing is I'm going to be sealing this piece with Wiesel varnish. And so this would be your last step. So you're gonna put the varnish on it first, and then you're gonna put this over top. And having realized that, I just realized that I'm not going to show you on my piece yet, but I will show you on the paper, okay? So there are our colors. We've got vintage gold, and then the the amber lights, and then our paint that she's gonna use on her mirror is the Cleopatra gold. I really think you could go either way. This is gonna dry just a little bit darker, so you could go with the vintage gold. This would just be a little bit more brighter and yellowy. I may go this one because this almost has a little bit of a silvery gold tone, and they have, on their dressers we just did, they did silver hardware. So this might be a better fit for their bedroom to tie in their silver hardware. Transfer, beautiful. Yeah, it's such a pretty transfer. Hey Jan, how are you? Cool. Okay. All right. So you guys vote. What do you think? Vintage gold on the designs down here, or amber lights? Or you could just say, let's see, left or right, if you don't remember the names. Then I can check back after I get it sealed, and we can apply it. It'd be super cool. Okay? All right. Well, I'm gonna let you guys go, and I'm gonna keep working on this beautiful piece. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Do you guys wanna see one thing before I let you go? This is a piece that I worked on. I recently posted it on here, and it was a very special piece for a client who has been through a lot. She was in a relationship, a marriage for several years that was trauma-filled and emotionally abusive, and she finally, after a long time, got the strength to leave. And shortly after that, she was involved in a car accident that she almost died from. It was really scary. And now she is reclaiming her life and living her life. And so this is the dresser that I painted for her. And I have it. She hasn't picked it up yet, so I'm gonna bring it over here and show you guys and knock over everything else. But this is the dresser. Right here. And so I'm showing you this because I used Redesign with Prima products on it. So these wings were made using molds, Decor molds. The peacock mold, you can see the feathers. This is the sunflower, parts of the sunflower one. And then these actually are leaves down here, but I like the way they curved, so I put them on. And then you can see the raised stencils that I applied to the edges. So it's amazing what you can do with the products and what you can create. So think outside the box and do something really cool with it. All right? Okay, have a good day. See you guys later.